I'm Jeff Holtzman with Talk Radio News Service, and I'm standing here right now with Congressman Trent Franks from Arizona. Congressman, thank you for stopping by after the State of the Union speech.
Thanks for having me on.
Let me get the reaction. How do you think the president did if you had to give him a grade?
Well, I think he always does well in terms of presentation. You know, he's very articulate. He's very charismatic. The problem is there's so little resemblance between what he says and the policies that he espouses, and that's probably one of the concerns that I've had since day one. You know, he's always been a very good, very glib, a very capable speaker, but the policies he represents have almost no resemblance to what he says.
It was widely speculated that before the speech that he was going to strike a feisty tone with his opponents, meaning most likely Republicans and more conservative Democrats. Do you think that the president is more or less willing now to get along with Republicans and let you guys bring your ideas to the table and work with Republicans? Do you think he's sincere about that?
Well, I hope so. I can tell you, that he made tremendous overtures in that regard when he first became president, said that he was going to include us in the process, and yet never in history have Republicans or a minority party of any kind been more excluded from the process. And I guess I took a little umbrage a couple of times when he tried to say that Republicans have had no alternatives to this health care debacle. We've had many bills, we've had many ideas, and he's completely ignored them. And to somehow suggest now that, he would like for us to, if we have better ideas, to bring them forward. We've brought them forward and been ignored profoundly, and that's a hard thing for me. Of course, it also seems difficult for him to get off of blaming the past administrations. This $1.35 trillion deficit for this year is his deficit. This is his proposal, and I'm concerned because I think that his policies have weakened the country in three main areas. One, economically, we're going hell-bent for election towards socialism under this president. Number two, we're ignoring the dangers, in my judgment, of terrorism and some of the profound and grave consequences it may represent to the country in the future. And then I see just the constitutional foundations of the nation being eroded by this cognitive dissonance between what he says and what he does, and it really concerns me.
When you say we're getting less safe on the war on terror in this administration, does that include the fact that the president is willing to keep spending levels the same on defense issues and veterans issues and homeland security? Or do you think the president needs to do more to go further to show that he's more serious about keeping us safe?
Well, he exempted those things from his so-called budget freeze, but he also exempted all the other main social programs of the nation. And when you look at what he did in the defense budget, I mean, for instance, missile defense. I'm the chairman of the Missile Defense Caucus here in the Congress, and he cut that in a profound way and dismantled, completely canceled our defense shield in Europe, which could have been a major calculus in Iran's willingness to move forward with a nuclear program. It was telling Iran, go for it, we're not going to do anything. And it puts, I think, this country in a very dire danger in the future, because if Iran gains a nuclear capability, sooner or later they will give it to terrorist insurgents, and it will wipe all other issues off the table.
And of course we all know that Iran is basically fighting a proxy war against us through countries like Yemen and other countries in the Middle East. Let me ask you two questions on healthcare real quick. Why do you think the president didn't give a lot of specifics and go too specific into healthcare tonight? I mean, he basically just said, let's get it done, guys, let's get it done. Why do you think he didn't elaborate on that?
Well, I think that he knows that the people of this country are just adamantly against a government takeover of health care. And he is committed to trying to see this happen. I think that he understands that the more government takes over industry and the economy, that the more it bodes well for liberal leadership in this country. And I just am astonished that he, again, given all of the clear evidence of the people rejecting a government takeover of health care, would continue to try to press it. I don't know what their plans are. I can tell you that there are those of us that will fight it with everything that we have. We will put forward alternative ideas to fix the problems that exist in health care without destroying the whole system and without letting government take it over.
All right, last question, because I know you got to make your rounds, but you're in the House. Tell me, I mean, there's been a sudden lack of information on where health care reform is at. Because obviously we don't have C-SPAN broadcasting right now, so we don't see what's going on. The American public isn't seeing the deliberations. Can you tell me anything on where healthcare is right now? I mean, I've heard rumors that the president is going to ask the House to vote on the Senate bill and then add a bunch of things later. I mean, can you validate that? Can you verify anything?
I can tell you that that's been discussed. First of all, the Republican plans have just been completely ignored. We've still been cut out of the process, but we have heard from reliable sources, I do have friends that are Democrats, that there is discussion about passing the Senate bill as it is, with the promise for those who didn't vote for it last time and decide to vote for it this time, that they will, through the reconciliation process and the budgetary process, make changes that will be more acceptable to them. Now, that's an end run. That's something the American people are going to be as angry as they can be. And I don't think it'll work ultimately, but only time will tell. And, I just, again, I look at the whole notion of, I guess the centerpiece was this budget freeze. That will save us $15 billion the first year, $15 billion. And our first year deficit is $1.35 trillion. And his plan is like throwing a powder puff at a battleship.
A lot of people argue that that's a decent place to start. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. First of all, if it were a real budget freeze, that'd be different. But see, it's really not. It's not a budget freeze because it exempts almost every major program in government. I applaud the idea that it exempts defense because, when those two airplanes hit the two buildings, it cost us $2 trillion. And he, of course, didn't really point that out, that some of the deficits that we faced were because we weren't able to prevent a terrorist attack. And that will only exacerbate all of our problems again if it happens in the future.
All right. That was Congressman Trent Franks from Arizona. Congressman, again, thank you so much
Thank you
for your time. Appreciate it.